I've been thinking a lot lately about the power of our words. Not just the big speeches or grand declarations, but the everyday language we use, the little things we say to ourselves and others, that shape our lives in ways we might not even realize. There's an old saying that goes, "But how you react to it that matters," and I'd add to that, it's not just how you reacted, but how you talk about it. How you frame it in your mind and in your conversations. No, I want to share something with you that's been on my mind. There are six little phrases that I've noticed intelligent, successful people tend to avoid. They steer. Clear these words not because they're magic or taboo, but because they understand the subtle yet powerful impact language has on our mindset. And let's start with the first one. I can't. You ever notice how easy it is to say, I can't? It rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? I can't lose weight. I can't get that promotion. I can't change my life. But here's the thing. Every time we say I can't, we're putting up a wall. We're cutting ourselves off from possibility. Before we've even given ourselves a chance. I remember a young woman I met years ago. Emma was stuck in a job. She hated living paycheck the paycheck every day. She'd come home exhausted, clap down on the couch and say, I can't keep living like this. But that's all she'd say. I can't. What the Emma's neighbor invited her to a community college open house. Emma's first instinct was to say, I can't go, I don't have time. But something made her, instead, she said, you know what? I'll check it out. A tiny shift. I'll check it out. It was like a key turning in a lock. Emma went to that open house. She signed up for a night class in graphic design. It wasn't easy. She was tired. She was stressed. There were plenty of nights she wanted to quit, but she kept going. 2 years later, Emma had an associate's degree in graphic design. 6 months after that, she landed her first job at a small marketing firm. Was it her dream job right away? No, but it was a step she never would have taken if she'd stuck with, I can't. No, I'm not saying it's as simple as just changing your words. We are faced real obstacles, challenges, but intelligent people, successful people, they understand that saying, I can't, it's like locking the door and throwing away the key, the dead. Instead, they ask themselves, what's one small step I can take? Who can help me figure this out? These questions open doors. They create possibilities. When we say, I can't, we're not just making a statement about our current abilities. We're making a prediction about our future. We're telling ourselves a story about who we are and what we're capable. And here's the thing. That story becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you tell yourself, I can't enough times, you'll start to believe it. You'll stop trying. You'll stop growing. You'll accept limitations that don't actually exist. And that, my friends, is the real tragedy. But when you replace I can't with how can I, you're opening up a world of possibilities. You're engaging your creativity, your problem-solving skills. You're acknowledging that there might be a way, even if you don't see it yet. Some of the greatest inventions in history, the light bulb, the airplane, the computer. Do you think these things would exist if their inventors had said, I can't? Of course not. They said, how can I? They tried, they failed, they learned, they try it again, and they changed the world. No, I'm not saying you have to invent the next world-changing device. But I am saying that the same principle applies to our everyday lives. Whether it's learning a new skill, starting a business, improving a relationship, the first step is believing that it's possible. So the next time you catch yourself saying, I can't, I want you to stop. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what if I could? What would that look like? What's one small step I can take in that direction? You might be surprised at what you're capable of. When you stop telling yourself what you can't do and start exploring what you can. The second thing intelligent people never say is, it's not fair. Life isn't fair. We all know that, right? But how often do we catch ourselves saying it anyway? It's not fair that he got the promotion. It's not fair that I was born into this situation. It's not fair that I have to work so hard. Here's the problem with it puts us in victim mode. It makes us passive. We're saying the world is against us and there's nothing we can do about it. But intelligent people, they flip this on its head. Instead of saying it's not fair, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to my advantage? What opportunities hidden in this challenge? I knew a man. Let's call him Tom. Tom was laid off from his job of 20 years. No warning, no severance. Just a pink slip and a thank you for your service. Now, Tom had every right to say, this isn't fair. And believe me, he wanted to, but instead, you know what Tom did? He took a deep breath, looked at his wife and said, well, I guess it's time for a change. Starting his own business, but he never had the courage to leave his stable job. Now that decision had been made for him. Was it scary? Absolutely. But Tom chose to see it as an opportunity, not an injustice. He used the savings to take some business class. He networked like crazy. You start a small doing consulting work from his home office. Wasn't easy. There were plenty of sleepless nights. Play the moments of doubt, but Tom persevered. 5 years later, Tom's consulting firm was thriving. He was making more money than he ever had at his old job, and more importantly, he was happier. He was in control of his destined. Now was Tom's layoff there? No. But by refusing to dwell on the unfairness, by choosing to focus on opportunity instead of weather injustice, Tom created a life he never would have had otherwise. It's not fair as a dead-end statement. It leaves no room for growth. No room for action. It's a way of abdicating responsibility, of saying the world did this to me and there's nothing I can do about. Life is never going to be perfectly fair. There will always be challenges, setbacks, injustices. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Intelligent people understand that fairness is not a prerequisite for success. They know the dwelling on unfairness is a waste of energy. That could be spent on finding solutions, on creating opportunities, on moving forward. When you catch yourself saying it's not fair, I want you to pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, okay, it's not fair. Now, what can I do in this situation? What can I learn from this? How can I use this to grow stronger, wiser, more resilient? Because here's the thing. Life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. Every challenge, every setback, every unfair situation is an opportunity to learn, to grow, to become stronger and wiser. Some of the most successful people in history faced tremendous unfairness. They were born into poverty, faced discrimination, encountered seemingly insurmountable obstacles, But they didn't sit around saying, it's not fair, they gotta work. They found waste overcome. They used the unfairness as fuel to drive them forward. So the next time life throws you a curveball, the next time you face a situation that seems unfair, remember, Tom, remember that you have a choice. You can complain about the unfairness, or you can ask, how can I use this? How can I grow from this? What opportunity is hidden in this challenge? Because that's what intelligent people do. They don't waste time and energy complaining about fairness. They focus on what they can control, on what they can do, on how they can turn challenges into opportunities. The third thing, intelligent people never say, that's just the way I am. Oh, this is a tricky one, isn't it? Because it sounds like self-acceptance. It sounds like we're being true to ourselves. I'm just not a morning person. I'm just not good with money. I'm just not the kind of person who can stick to a diet. When we say, that's just the way I am, what we're really saying is, I can't change. We're putting ourselves in a box limiting our potential for growth and improvement. Intelligent people understand that we're not fixed entities. We're constantly evolving, constantly learning, constantly adapting. They replaced that's just the way I am with that's the way I am right now. But I can change. I want to tell you about a friend of Mike. Mike was always the life of the party, loud, boisterous, the center of attention, but he had a problem. He couldn't hold down a job. He was always getting into conflicts with coworkers, always butting heads with his boss. Whenever anyone tried to talk to Mike about it, his response was always the same. That's just the way I am. I'm not going to change who I am for some job. Makes attitude, costume opportunity after opportunity. He was talented. He was smart, but he couldn't get ahead because he refused to adapt. Then one day, Mike met someone, let's call Lisa. Lisa was kind, patient, and she saw something, and Mike, that others didn't. But she also challenged him. When Mike would say, that's just the way I am, Lisa would ask, but is it the way you want to be? That question hit Mike like a ton of bricks. For the first time, he started to see that his behavior wasn't some unchangeable part of his personality. It was a choice. And if it was a choice, that meant he could choose differently. It wasn't easy. Mike had to confront some hard truths about himself. He had to learn new skills, how to listen, how to compromise, how to control his temper. But step by step, day by day, Mike began to change. Are you a later? Mike landed a job at a startup. 2 years after that, he was leading his own team. Mike was still outgoing, still energetic. But now he channeled that energy into leadership and motivation instead of conflict. The old Mike would have said, that's just the way I am. The new Mike says this is who I'm choosing to be. That's just the way I am as a cop-out. It's a way of avoiding responsibility for our actions and our lives. It's a way of saying I can't change. So don't expect me to try. You're not a fixed entity. Your personality, your skills, your habits, these are not set in stone. They can change. They do change. The question is, are you directing that change, or are you just letting it happen to you? Intelligent people understand that personal growth is a choice. They know that they have the power to shape who they are, to develop new skills, To change their habits and behaviors, they also understand that this kind of change isn't about denying who you are. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. It's about aligning your behaviors with your values and goals. So the next time you catch yourself saying, "That's just the way I am," I want you to pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, is this really who I want to be? Is this behavior serving me? If not, how can I change it? Remember, you are the author of your own story. You have the power to rewrite the parts of yourself that aren't working. It won't be easy. Change never is, but it's possible, and it's worth it. Because when you stop saying, "That's just the way I am," and start saying, "This is who I am choosing to be," you take control of your life. You open yourself up to growth, to improvement, to becoming the person you've always known you could be. The first thing intelligent people never say is, "I don't have time." It's the great equalizer, isn't we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And yet how often do we find ourselves saying, "I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to read. I don't have time to pursue my dreams." When we say, "I don't have time," what we're really saying is, this isn't a priority for me, and that's okay. We can't do everything. But intelligent people are honest with themselves about their priorities. They don't hide behind the excuse of time. Instead of saying, "I don't have time," they asked, "How can I make time?" They understand that time is a resource, and like any resource, it needs to be managed and allocated. I want to tell you about a woman I met a few years ago. Marie. Maria was a single mother, working 2 jobs to support her kid. She dreamt of going back to school, of getting her degree, but every time she thought about it, she'd say, I don't have time." But one day, Maria's daughter asked her, "Mommy, why don't you go to school like I do?" And in that moment, Maria realized she had to stop saying, "I don't have time," and start asking, "How can I make?" Maria started small. She cut out an hour of TV each night and used that time to study. She talked to her boss and arranged to work 4 10-hour days instead of 5 8-hour days. Freeing up 1 day a week for class, she enlisted her family to help with childcare and housework. Was it easy? No. There were nights when Maria was exhausted, when she wanted nothing more than to collapse on the couch and forget about. But she kept going, kept pushing, kept making time. 4 years later, Maria walked across the stage to receive her bachelor's degree. Her kids were in the audience, is cheering louder than anyone. Maria had shown them and herself that "I don't have time" is just another way of saying, "I'm not willing to make this a priority." I don't have time, as often just an excuse. It's a way of avoiding the hard choices, the sacrifices that come with pursuing our goals and dream. But here's the thing. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. It's not about having time. It's about making time. It's about being intentional with how we use our hours and minutes. Intelligent people understand this. They know the time is their most valuable resource. And they treat it as such. They don't waste time. They invest it. They're clear about their priorities. And they allocate their time accordingly. They also understand that "I don't have time" often masks deeper fears and insecurities. "I don't have time to start a business" might really mean "I'm afraid of failing." "I don't have time to exercise" might really mean "I'm intimidated by the gym." By being honest about these underlying fears and addressing them head on, intelligent people are able to break through the "I don't have time" barrier and make real progress towards their goals. So the next time you catch yourself saying, "I don't have time," I want you to pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, is this really true? Or is this not a priority for me right now? If it's truly not a priority, that's okay. We can't do everything, but be honest about it. Don't hide behind the excuse of, and if it is a priority, then ask yourself, how can I make time for this? What am I currently spending time on that I could cut back on? How can I be more efficient with my time? Remember, you have the same 24 hours in a day as everyone else. It's not about having time. It's about making time. It's about being intentional, being efficient, being clear about your priorities. Because when you stop saying, "I don't have time," and start asking, "How can I make time?" you take control of your schedule and your life. You open up possibilities that you never thought existed. You start making progress towards your goals and dreams. And isn't that worth making time for? The fifth thing intelligent people never say is, "I know." Now, this might sound counterintuitive. After all, isn't knowledge power? Isn't the goal to know? But here's the catch. When we say, "I know," we close ourselves off to new information, new perspectives, new ways of thinking. Intelligent people understand that there's always more to learn. They approach life with curiosity, with a willingness to be wrong, with an eagerness to grow. I remember CEO I once worked with. David had built his company from the ground up. He was brilliant, driven, successful, but he had a habit of saying, "I know," to everything. In meetings and conversations with employees, even with I know, David thought he was projecting confidence. But what he was really doing was shutting down communication. His employees stopped bringing him new ideas. His customers felt dismissed. His company started the stagnation. It took a near disaster, a major client almost leaving you, for David to realize he needed to change. You started catching himself every time he was about to say, "I know." Instead, he forced himself to ask questions. What do you think about this? How would you approach this problem? What am I missing here? Change was dramatic. Suddenly, David was getting fresh perspectives, innovative ideas. His employees felt valued and heard. His customers felt respected. And his company, it started growing again faster than ever. By replacing "I know" with "tell me more," David transformed not just his communication style, but his entire approach to leadership in life. Saying "I know" is often a reflex. It's a way of asserting our competence, of protecting our ego. But it's also a conversation stopper. It leaves no room for new information, no space for growth. Intelligent people understand the true wisdom lies not in knowing everything, in being open to learning anything. The approach, every conversation, every situation with the beginners. They're not afraid to say, "I don't know," or "I never thought of it that way." Does openness to new ideas, this willingness to learn, is what sets truly intelligent people apart. They understand that knowledge is not a fixed quantity. It's not something you acquire once and then you're done. It's a lifelong journey, a constant process of discovery and growth. Some of the greatest minds in history, Einstein, for example, he was constantly questioning, constantly exploring. He didn't rest on his laurels after developing the theory of relativity. He kept pushing, kept learning, kept growing. Or consider someone like Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors in history. Despite his immense knowledge and experience, Buffett is known for his voracious reading habit and his willingness to learn from others. He doesn't assume he knows everything about a company or an industry. He asks questions. He listens. He learns. This attitude of curiosity is willingness to say, tell me more, instead of, I know, is not just beneficial in business or academic pursuit. It enriches every aspect of our lives. In our relationships, it allows us to truly understand and connect with others. Instead of assuming we know what our partner or friend is thinking or feeling, we ask, we listen, we learn, and in doing so, we deepen our connections and build stronger, more meaningful relationships. In our personal growth, it allows us to continually evolve and improve. Instead of assuming we know the best way to do something, we remain open to new techniques, new approaches. We experiment, we adapt, we grow. Even in areas where we're experts, maintaining this attitude of curiosity can lead to breakthroughs and innovation. Some of the greatest discoveries in science and technology have come from people who were willing to question what everyone else what's new to be true. So how can we cultivate this attitude in our own? How can we break the habit of saying I know and embrace some more open, curious approach? First, we need to become aware of our reflexive I know responses. Pay attention to your conversations. How often do you find yourself saying, I know, or cutting someone off? Because you think you already understand what they're going to say. Once you're aware of this, habits start consciously replacing I know with questions. Can you tell me more about that? How did you come to that conclusion? What would that look like in practice? Practice active listening. Instead of formulating your response while someone else is talking, really focus on what they're saying. Try to understand not just their words, but the thoughts and feelings behind those words. Embrace the phrase, I don't know. It's not a sign of weakness or ignore. It's a sign of intellectual honesty in an openness to learn. Some of the most powerful words in any language are, I don't know, but I'd like to find out. Seek out diverse perspectives. Read books and articles from authors you disagree with. Have conversations with people from different backgrounds and with different viewpoints. Challenge your own assumptions and belief. And perhaps most importantly, cultivate a sense of wonder about the world. There's so much to learn, so much to discover. Approach each day with curiosity and excitement about what new things you might learn. Remember, intelligence isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking the right questions. It's about being open to new ideas, new perspectives, new ways of thinking. It's about continuous growth and learning. So the next time you're tempted to say, I know, pause, take a breath, and instead say, tell me more. You might be surprised at what you learn. The sixth and final thing intelligent people never say is, I give. Now, don't get me wrong. There are times when it's smart to cut our losses, to recognize that a particular path isn't working and play something else. But that's not giving up. That's pivoting. That's adapting. Giving up is different. Giving up is throwing in the towel, admitting defeat, closing the door on possibility. And intelligent people understand that as long as we're breathing, as long as we're willing to learn and grow and try, there's always hope. Instead of saying, I give up, they asked, what else can I try? What happened I thought of yet? Who can help me with this? I want to share one last story with you. There was a man, let's call him Jack. Jack had a dream of writing a novel. You've been working on it for years, stealing moments here and there between his job and his family responsibilities. Finally, after 5 years of work, Jack finished his manuscript. He was elated. Can you send it out to publishers? Confident that his hard work was about to pay off, the rejections started coming in, one after another. Form letters? Polite? No thank you. Sometimes. Just silence. After 6 months and over 50 rejections, Jack was ready to give up. He told his wife, maybe I'm just not cut out to be a writer, but Jack's wife wouldn't let him give up. She asked, if you knew for certain that your book would be published, what would you do differently? That question changed everything for Jack. He realized he'd been passive, just waiting for someone to recognize his genius. He started researching successful authors in his genre. He joined the writing group and got feedback on his work. He hired an editor to help him polish his manuscript. And he kept submitting, not just to the big publishers, but to small presses, to literary magazines, to writing contests. He treated his writing like a job, dedicating time to it every single day. 2 years later, 7 years after he first started writing, Jack's novel was published by a small but respected press. It wasn't an instant bestseller, but it got good reviews. It opened doors. And more importantly, it proved to Jack that I give up is never the answer. You say I give up is the ultimate self-fulfilling prophecy. When we give up, we guarantee failure. We close the door on possibility. We deny ourselves the chance to succeed, to grow, to achieve our dreams. Intelligent people understand this. They know that success often comes just after the point where most people would give up. They understand that perseverance, resilience, the willingness to keep trying even in the face of setbacks and failures, is often the key differentiator between those who achieve their goals and those who don't. Some of the most successful people in any field, athlete, entrepreneurs, artists, scientists, what do they all have in common? They didn't give up. They faced setbacks, failures, rejection, but they kept going. They kept learning, keep growing, kept trying. Timer Status infamously said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That's the mindset of someone who refuses to give up. Each failure, each setback, it's just another step on the path to success. Or consider J.K. Rowling. Before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, Rowling faced rejection after rejection. She was a single mother living on welfare, battling depression. But she didn't give up. She kept reading, kept submit, keep believing in her story. This story is a perseverance, aren't just inspiring anecdotes. Is there a blueprint for success? They showed us that giving up is often the only true failure. So how can we cultivate this resilience in our own lives? How can we push through the moments when we're tempted to give up? First, we need to reframe our understanding of failure. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a part of success. It's how we learn, how we grow, how we get closer to our goals. Each failure, each setback, is an opportunity to learn something new, to refine our approach to get better. Second, we need to focus on progress, not perfection. Often we give up because we're not seeing the results we want as quickly as we want. What success is rarely overnight. It's a process, a journey. Celebrate small win. Recognize the progress you're making, even if it's slower than you'd like. There we need to build a support system. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, who encourage you, who pick you up when you're down. Sometimes when we can't believe in ourselves, we need others to believe in us until we can believe in ourselves again. Boris, we need to remember our why. Why did you start this journey in the first place? What's driving you? What's your ultimate goal? When things get tough, reconnecting with your purpose can give you the strength to keep going. Beth, we need to be willing to adapt. Sometimes giving up on a specific approach doesn't mean giving up on the goal. Be flexible. Be willing to try new approaches, new strategies. If one path is blocked, and finally we need to practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. Recognize that setbacks and failures are a normal part of any journey. Don't beat yourself up. Instead, treat yourself with the same kindness and encouragement you'd offer a good friend. Remember, I give up is never the answer. There's always another approach to try, always another day to make progress, always another opportunity to learn and grow. So the next time you're tempted to say, I give up, pause, take a deep breath, and instead ask yourself, what else can I try? What happened I thought of yet? Who can help me with this? Because that's what intelligent people do. They don't give up. They persevere. They keep moving forward one step at a time until they achieve their goals. 6PHR. I can't. It's not fair. That's just the way I am. I don't have time. I know. And I give up. They're more than just words. They're minds. They're ways of approaching life that can either hold us back or propel us forward. By avoiding these phrases, by replacing them with more empowering language and more productive questions, we open ourselves up to grow, to learning, to achieve. We take control of our lives and our destinies. Remember, it's not about being perfect. We all have moments of doubt, moments of frustration, moments when we're tempted to fall back on these limiting phrases. The key is to catch ourselves when we do, to pause, to reflect, and to choose a different path. It's about progress, not perfection. It's about continually striving to be better, to learn more, to achieve more. It's about approaching life with curiosity, with resilience, with an unwavering belief in our own potential. So I challenge you, pay attention to your words. Notice when you're tempted to use these limiting phrases, and when you catch yourself, pause, take a breath, and choose different words, a different mindset, a different approach. Play Zach with how can I replace is not fair with what can I learn from this. Replace that just the way I am with I can change and grow. Replace I don't have time with how can I make time. Replace song no with tell me more. Replace I give up with what else can I try. These small shifts in language can lead to enormous shifts in your life. They can open up possibilities you never imagined. They can help you overcome, achieve your goals, and become the best version of yourself. Remember, you are the author of your own story. Your word shape your thoughts. Your thoughts shape your actions, and your actions shape your life. Choose your words wisely. Choose words that empower you, that inspire you, that push you to grow and achieve and become all that you're capable of being, because that's what intelligent people, they choose their words carefully. They approach life with curiosity and resilience. They never stop learning, never stop growing,